Welcome to episode 264 of Control the Controllables. And I'm in New York. And that means one thing, it's the US Open 2025. And this is our preview show that went out live yesterday on YouTube. And don't forget, we're going to be coming to you live as well. Not every day from New York, but every couple of days. So watch out for that. If you're not following us on YouTube yet, you should, because we're bringing more and more content that way. And what an exciting, the last major of the year. So many storylines as ever. You know, is it going to be Sabalenka? Is Iga Swiatek going to continue her dominant form over the last couple of months? And then on the men's side, can anybody topple Sinner and Alcaraz, who between them have won the last 7 Grand Slams? The doubles, the mixed doubles, we saw it last week. You know, did you enjoy it? Did you not? It caused a lot of emotion. You would have heard. If not, please do listen to my podcast before this, the episode before this, where I talk about why this evoked so much emotion. And I want this to be a big collective, tennis coming together, growing the sport and getting it out there for all. I have Freddie Nielsen joining me today, the Davis Cup captain of Denmark, the coach of August Holmgren, who was one of our recent podcast guests, who had his amazing run at Wimbledon. And also, Freddie was the Wimbledon champion of 2012 in the men's doubles. We're going to go through, as ever, our picks, our dark horses, the storylines to look for. I hope you enjoy the episode, and as ever, reach out and give us your feedback. But here it is, our US Open 2025 preview show. Hi, guys, and a big welcome to Control the Controllables. This is our first live show from New York City for the US Open, brought to you by Novellus. And we are going to be previewing this year's US Open. And I have Freddie Nielsen, Danish Davis Cup captain, former Wimbledon champion, with me. Freddie, how are you doing?
I'm great, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, good. A bit tired, if I'm honest. I guess that's the 8:30 in the morning, which is I've just arrived. I arrived about midnight from Mexico
It's also an
last
interesting
night.
scheduling that to put on Monterey before.
2,200 miles away.
Yeah.
And actually, not that you ever obviously want the team to lose. They lost. Gabby and Aaron lost in the quarterfinals. Got off court, gone midnight on, was that Thursday? I saw last night, and I haven't checked this morning, but I believe that all matches were cancelled last night because of the rain. So I believe today which was going to be finals day, is now going to be one of the semi-final singles, semi-finals and final doubles. And then whoever's in the singles has to then race to New York, which is a full day's travel on Sunday, to play Monday. I mean, I guess one of them might even be scheduled to play Sunday with the way the draw is, but I guess they'll try and
They
split
have
that.
to take that into account.
Yeah, they do, but having, I mean, and it is a full day's travel. Like we flew through Houston yesterday. It's, you know, an hour and a half to Houston, couple of hours in Houston, and then it's almost a 4-hour flight from Houston to New York. A 2-hour time difference, so it's a full day's travel. So for those singles players in Montreal, I'm not sure they're going to be our dark horses pick, because they haven't got the best preparation, that's for sure.
But maybe, I don't know, maybe the US Open will look into providing some kind of private plane or something if they're all going.
Yeah, I actually, that was on the fact sheet. I think there actually is a private plane. Actually, I think that was already on the fact sheet, and I have to also say, Monterey is a great tournament. So it's
Oh, that's nothing against the tournament. It's just the time, the week
but
it's in.
it seems a bit unfair for Tommy. Great crowds, fantastic centre court. That's kind of like a fixed centre court that's there
Mm.
all year. They do a great job. Lots of sponsors. You know, the way that they set the whole thing up, it feels that it deserves maybe a better place than just being stuck in the middle of Cincinnati and US Open. But anyway, how's things? How's New York? You've been here for a few days. You're here for qualies. I know
Yeah, it
not
was.
quite the result you wanted for August Holmgren at the. Ironically, he played against our next podcast guest.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Zach. We were in touch with Zach the week before, so we're going to be speaking to him after US Open. So how's that experience been so far for you?
New York is always a bit different to me. It's I have a bit of a love-hate relationship with it because I love being here, but I hate playing tennis here. I was always motivated, but for some reason I could never seem to play well. Nowadays they have this fan week, and it's great, but it's mad. I mean, there's so much going on. It's so loud. I always found it difficult to play, but I would find it very difficult to play here now. I mean, like I said, I really like it, but it's difficult. And I don't know if it played in August, didn't play particularly well, but Swiatek is a very good player who's in form, so it wasn't the best of draws. Very good performance in a bad tennis match, so very positive about the loss in that way. And that's the way it goes, you know. If you Swiatek ended up qualifying, I believe. So if you want to go out to a player, you want to go out to a guy who's playing really well, and yeah, was the better player on the day. So it was very easy to handle that loss. What I'm most happy about is that he didn't lose himself while not playing bad, but really concentrated and performed at a mentally high level, which is a big priority of ours. So yeah, it is what it is. And then I've been trying to help our other player Elmer to prepare for main draw. It's been nice. I really like it here. I mean, I feel like the tournament has upgraded a lot. There's a lot of
Good.
it's quite player friendly. A lot of things are good, but like I said, it's mad what's happening and they're doing something right because there are so many people out for qualies.
So
It's
many.
pretty cool. It's very cool. So yeah.
I remember last year, Gabby and Erin randomly ended up playing on Ash in their first round doubles match. Um, they weren't scheduled. I guess there was rain. Something happened, or there was a gap in the schedule. They won the previous year, so I guess defending champions. And I remember walking onto Ash, and there was so much going on, and there was so many lights, and so much music and noise, and it was like I've not suffered with sensory overload before, but I really was like, oh geez, like what? Where do I look? What do I do? It felt like I was at a NBA game. Have you ever been to an NBA game?
Oh,
Yeah,
100%.
it's like everything's going on, but the basketball it feels, and for the players to adapt to that, and I guess a side note of that, Freddie, it feels like it then becomes a massive advantage to the players that get to play in that environment on those courts all the time as well.
Yeah. And it is true what you say. It's almost like, I mean, it's an American thing. That's also why it's so entertaining to go to the game sometimes. But like you and me, who are used to European sporting events, it almost feel like the script here is that we cannot give them 1 second of peace to think about what's going on. We just got to fill out every moment with sounds and input and screens and whatnot, and it makes for an entertaining watch. But I find it difficult to keep my concentration on what's going on as well. And 100%. And also, I feel like it really becomes a factor to the point that the ones that embrace it and can really harness that energy from the crowd and everything, they have a big advantage. I think we've seen it many times before that the crowd here is electric. They get involved. They're enthusiastic about it, and they're not particularly American biased. If you're a good performer who showcases some good tennis and show that you like to be there and that you want to engage with the fans, they'll take to you and they'll support you whatever. I feel like that's a bit of an outlier compared to the other slams, is that you're playing an American, you're not necessarily gonna get a biased crowd there. If they take to you early, if you can make them support you somehow, you can get some good crowd support here.
And talking of crowd support, Freddie, obviously you were here during the during the mixed doubles event. There's been this narrative created singles versus doubles, and I don't want it ever to be that actually. But give us your thoughts on how that event was. You were in New York, you were at Flushing Meadows. Is it a success? Give me your take on it.
I think it was a huge success based on what they were trying to do and all the hype that was created. I mean, back home in Denmark, I was doing media questions about it to Danish press, so have never had a question about mixed doubles before.
Right. Yeah.
So it did create a buzz. I still personally have some gripes with the sporting merit of it. I'm on the fence because I should be against it, but I don't mind it. I think the mixed doubles is the one tournament. If you want to do something at the slams, it's the mixed doubles you can try something with, and there's not that much to lose. But I don't think they should be. I think they should be upfront about it because it's not really a slam. And then they were quite lenient with the rules when you had the entry rules on singles, and then some people pulled out, and then like, oh, we're just gonna find some match, to match up. I think Siniakova was in play to play with Sinner, just because there was no. If you repair, they're just finding people, and then you have alternates that didn't get in, and I just find it to be this should be upfront. It's more of an exhibition, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, last year there was a pickleball player in the finals of mixed doubles. So, for the sake of my argument,
Yeah.
Donald Young is a very good tennis player, but he's primarily playing pickleball now, and he was in the mixed doubles final. So, what kind of message does that send out? And I think it was a good try, and I think they really succeeded with it, and I think it was a big success, and I think it could kickstart something on, because like we've said many times, it's not the product, it's
Yeah.
not the actual tournament, and you could see that Ash was full for these matches.
Yeah. Yeah.
They were absolutely full. So if it kickstarts something and they can gain some momentum, I think it's very positive. So all in all, I would say I think it was a great success, to be honest.
And also it was full, but it was also, from what I could hear and from what I'm understanding, they were as behind the Italians, Vavasori and Arani, as they were Rude and Swiatek, and it's like, oh, they weren't the big names, but everyone on Flushing Meadows that day talking about Arani and Vavasori, who, by the way, are both hell of a tennis players as well. This is the other thing people forget. They're serious tennis players first and foremost, but just obviously their skill set has meant that they are absolutely world class doubles and mixed doubles players as well, and I think that was nice for people to see. And in watching, we were watching in Monterey, and everyone was going crazy actually, and everyone was backing the Italians, and even like Leila Fernandez, Diane Schneider, like you could just see there was a real kind of feel good factor with the almost the tennis community. But after
But also
watching,
that's also because when you showcase them, and then you see, like, obviously the singles players are much better ball hitter strikers maybe than Arani, Vavasori, but then you see them and you see the combinations, and Vavasori is quite a spectacular player to watch at the net because he's so athletic, he flies around, he makes spectacular reflex, and he covers all of the net. And then when the crowd is there, they're like, whoa, and they get taken aback by that.
100,
But they won't say that they won't see that until they see it, if you know what I mean. So they'll be like, holy moly, this guy
yeah.
was actually quite, or combined with Iranian and how they played together, they were like, oh, this is quite spectacular and fun to watch, and we can get behind that.
Yeah, and I think the contrast as well, and Draper. I mean, I love Jack, and I love Casper Ruud as well. We spoke about them. They're absolute gentlemen and incredible tennis players, but they just showcased how tough being a good service partner and a good returners partner are as well. Those skills that when we're watching doubles, it's almost like, oh, this is boring. It's so easy. All they're doing is just standing on top of the net and knocking the volley away. Whereas actually, at one point I counted, actually Draper had 8 touches at the net in the row, and he lost 8 points in a row. And he was like a deer in headlights, like, and actually to learn that skill, to develop that skill, and also to have some kind of natural ability at those skills. I think there needs to be a little bit more respect in terms of the challenge of becoming such a good doubles player as well. And I think that contrast showed, and exactly what you said. All of a sudden, then Vavasori came on court and was like, "Oh wow, that's how you do it."
Yeah.
That's like it was like chalk and cheese completely.
But also, I'm quite a big baseball fan, and if you don't appreciate, a pitcher, how he pitches and the tactics behind it, and what pitches he chooses at the same time, at the right time, it can be a tough watch, because people always say it's boring because there's a long time before something happens.
Yeah, yeah,
And the same thing could be the case in doubles. If you don't really appreciate the tactical news and the placement and all these things that go into it, I can understand why it could be a little bit, for people who are just they're watching without thinking too much about it, sometimes there can be a bit of time between the rallies that are spectacular to look at. So if you don't, if you gotta also be able to appreciate that side of it, because it is like, if you, like, you're a coach of some of the best doubles players in the world. It's not as much about the racket to ball contact quality in doubles. It's much more about, it's basically zonal marking, tactics, where do you go, the energy, where do you place the volleys, and all these things. And that's fascinating to watch, because there goes so much thought into it. And then you have this mixed doubles event where you have the greatest contrast between the racket to ball quality of, for example, Rybakina and Fritz, against the tactical and the understanding of where you can hurt your opponents of Irani and Vavasori. And you can see that I mean, I didn't actually see that match because August
Well,
was playing this well.
Irani's a genius.
Exactly, and you could see, and
He's a
and
genius.
that's my point. It was the same time as August was playing, so I didn't watch any of that. But it seemed to be quite a clear victory for them, and it just shows that you can kind of take those elements out of doubles in a way, and annul the opponent's qualities and hide some of your own deficiencies by being very smart and clever.
Can we? The bit that I would, and again, I want to stress this. This is not like I want to get away from this narrative of this is like singles hating. This is like, I love tennis. I love singles. I love doubles. I love all forms. But the bit I'd love your thoughts on, and I'll give a couple of examples. And I don't want to also just want to make this about Marty Fish. I know Marty Fish had his comment on social media about Rajiv Ram. I think there's obviously a bit of personal beef there. We see it a little bit from Isner and these guys on their podcast as well. There seems to be quite almost degrading of doubles to a degree. And then the last example I'll give, and again, I'm a big Iga fan and I'm a big Casper fan, but as Vavasori and Irani were having their speech, and that was their moment, right? They'd earned their moment. It was their platform. The world were listening. And I don't know if you saw it, but they just kind of chitter-chattered in the background. Didn't stop chitter-chattering as Vavasori and Irani had the microphone. And there's no way they would have done that if that was Draper and Pagula who were there. There's just no way. It's a subtle thing, but I don't believe they would have. If they and I think they got that completely wrong. We all make errors. Maybe they didn't know where the camera was, but the camera was kind of directly on them. But there does seem to be this kind of overriding, almost degrading and disrespect of doubles and what it means. We've talked about it. I talk about it all the time. The mistress of the tour. It's kind of just stuck there, and it kind of comes out. You book a court, or your singles or doubles, okay, come back.
At least they say singles or doubles now. It used to be you're a player, you're a doubles player.
Yeah, well, exactly. And that's fine. But it seems that maybe now is the time to kind of develop this conversation. I believe it was a big success. It's not a Grand Slam in its right. It's not the US Open mixed doubles champion, in my opinion. And if we had Calvin Betton on right now, he would use a big word, meritocracy. In its own right. Okay, if you're not getting in on merit, then it can't be a Grand Slam. It's in its own right. Invitational means that it's exhibition. But I think it was a big success. I can see it going this route. I've heard somewhere along the lines that LA 2028 Olympics is looking to use a similar sort of format for the mixed doubles. I think we're on to something, and we're, that kind of innovation. Do you see this developing the product that is doubles, which could absolutely have singles players, any tennis players playing? Do you see this now as a time that could move forward on the back of this success? Or is this just something that's maybe just a one-off that the US Open do? Is this something that now all the Grand Slams are going to look at and say, okay, well, this was a big success. This is something that we can maybe copy and paste. What's your take on that, and how does this progress? Because the last thing I'll say before I send it to you, my big belief is I think we have space for more stars in the world than just 5 or 8 top singles players. I believe there's a lot of potential stars out there that can grow the game for different reasons, right? And maybe there's an opportunity here now.
I do think that it's something people will look at and say, this was a big success. What can we do here? I don't think Wimbledon will do anything. I think they'll may do what they've always done. But the other ones, yeah, I think why wouldn't you? I mean, you talk about the sporting merit, and I completely agree. But at the same time, mixed doubles is something that's played 4 times a year, five maybe with the United Cup, and then once every 4 years with the Olympics. What are we so afraid of losing here? I'm, I'm a
And why only
traditionalist,
4 or 5 times though? But why not like I sit around Rome in week 2, in Cincinnati in week 2, in Madrid in week 2. You know, all of these events, and there's
but
very little
that's exactly
content out
where
there.
something could happen, right?
Yeah.
That's exactly where something can happen. I think people will look to this and see, okay, this was a success, and I think it also just shows that at the right time for the right amount of money, players will play.
Hmm.
It's you gotta make it's a cost benefit for them always, and it might not have value for them to play during the tournament where they have to be fit and fresh, where they have to play doubles, but everybody plays doubles at the Olympics because there's a medal on the line and there's no difference in prize money, and a medal is a medal. I got to be honest with you. If I don't have a horse in the race or I don't root for anybody, I'm not particularly following the mixed doubles draws.
I always find myself watching, almost to be honest, any tennis match that's built up to be something. I find myself involved in that emotion. Where the mixed doubles final at Wimbledon, I had it, and there was big emotion. The men's doubles semi final when Pelin Hichikara came back from 9-7 in the third, that grabbed my attention. Absolutely grabbed my attention. But if these things aren't in front of us, they're not in our eyes, they're not televised, they're not being talked about. You know, why is it that you think you don't normally have an interest in it?
For me personally, it's because I think it's because I know what's going on behind the scenes. Like the amount of times I'm asking the people on the tour that I know, who are you playing mixed with? And they go, uh, give me a second, and they have to go through and look up what the name is. That's
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
So
Yep.
that's one thing. It's a
And I think
scramble.
that's
That's
why we love Iran. I think that's why we love Irani and Varasori as well, because it feels like that's a team that we can get our teeth into. You just see the connection with them.
yeah, and
You
that it
just,
means something to them, right?
yeah.
Many players, it's like it's a bonus, but you're not gonna go home and dissect. You're not gonna most part. Some will, so don't get me wrong, but the most part, people are not gonna watch that match again, look at their positioning, talk about the tactical. Why did we do this in that time? It's just something you do. So that's why I'm finding it difficult to really get behind it.
My biggest takeaway from this, and I thank US Open for this, is I think the product has been showcased as being what we know it is,
Yeah.
a fantastic product.
And it
You
is a
know,
lot of fun that people like to watch. I mean, the actual product of mixed double is quite fun.
yeah, absolutely. Look, we could this could end up being a mixed doubles podcast. I wanna move it into
But I
um
think that the subcategory is that it's about change in tennis, right? And now we're talking about a mix, so it's not necessarily mixed up. It's more what does that mean for the sport? What could it mean for other things? And I think that's why it's such a big deal.
yeah, exactly that, Freddie. And I think that's my hope is how do we develop more eyes on tennis? How do we develop more stars? How do we spread that out? We know that this tour is carried really by 8 to 10, 5 to 8 players, and I just think there's space for more. I don't have all the answers on that. I know it is down to marketing, it's down to exposure, it's down to accessibility, availability, telling stories, developing stories. One thing, it was actually a good friend of ours, Carl, Big Carl, got in touch with me with his marketing mind the other day, and a shout out to Carl Lindbergh if he's listening. And he said, why don't, and I thought it was a great idea. I tweeted this out, I think, the other day. He said, why don't Arani Vavasori take 10% of what they've made and go to Tennis TV, pay Tennis TV to promote doubles over the next 12, 18 months? Like with that, and thinking outside the box a little bit, there needs to be some selfless acts along the way. No
That's the
one's
that's the thing. Most people want change as long as it benefits them. But if you believe in something and you believe in something bigger, then you got to
Yeah,
do something for the greater good of the game and not and try to put yourself in the back seat. It's very difficult for people to do.
which I believe the Bryans did many years ago. I believe
Yeah, 100%.
they put their own money into a big court case, and
To
they
save doubles.
yes, which historically, I hope that the Bryans get the credit that they deserve for that. I don't know the ins and outs of that, but
Mm.
yeah, these selfless acts would go a long way. But if we move it to the event coming up, obviously the draw is out. The tournament starts tomorrow. If we do have a look on the men's side, obviously Yannick Sinner is our defending champion. He came into the event last year under a bit of a cloud, I think is safe to say. It seems like he's coming into this event. He spoke about it yesterday. He feels completely different this year, but it does seem like Alcaraz seems to have his number a little bit. I know he lost in the Wimbledon final. What do you think of the draw? Who have we got to look at? Is the big man Riley Opelka going to be taking out Alcaraz first round?
Yeah, I do think that there are two guys where the seeded players are like, just keep that guy away from me, and that's Pericard and Opelka, because you just know that it's going to be warm the next few days, and Opelka's serve is going to be firing. So maybe the night session is going to offset that a little bit, but that is a potential banana peel. I don't think that he's gonna be able. Personally, I think Carlos was gonna win over best of 5 sets, but that's an intriguing first round match. And one of my big pet peeves about the first few rounds of especially US Open, some of the night sessions that they put on that are pretty one sided. I mean, Vid Kopriva is a very honest and good player, but there's a chance that that might be one way traffic for Sinner. But a lot of the other matches are quite even Steven, and I quite like that the draws are evening out a lot, and you get a lot of interesting matches from the first round. So that's what I take away from that draw. And I think Carlos has a tough draw. I actually think Sinner doesn't have a great draw. I mean, he'll have to get going from the beginning. But I mean, on paper, you would think that he should get over Kopriva, but then Popyrin second round is awkward.
He was
And
my
then in
dark
the
before the draw. He was my dark horse that I'd written down actually.
Absolutely, and then in the third round, I mean, you never know about Shapovalov, right? If he all of a sudden gets on a run, the service firing. I mean, statistically, he might not make it there, or he might not be a threat when it comes to it. But you do know that he has that in his locker to all of a sudden just be unplayable. And I
Yep.
think that the teams will be like, we would prefer somebody that's maybe consistently a little better, but
Yep.
doesn't have the on the day ability to all of a sudden just play phenomenal tennis. So I think it's a very interesting draw, and I think the one that stands out for me, I think would be the happiest about it is Zverev on the first look. I think he'll be quite content, and I think he has a decent way. I mean, we're all talking in context here, right? Because the draw is so competitive now. But I think he'll be happy with what happened.
And any other matches that stand out for you? I mean, Stefanos Tsitsipas. Is he going to get a win? He doesn't seem like he can buy a win right now. He plays Alexandra Muller, who
Yeah.
has a bit of a history over the last few Grand Slams of putting in good performances as well. What's happened to Tsitsipas?
It's interesting. It's really interesting. I mean, if you ask Goran Ivanisevic, he's pretty clear about what happened, right? But I always felt like there was always, I don't know. I like his intensity, his attitude, but I always felt like he was overachieving a little bit with regards to his qualities, like shot for shot. A great mover, great forehand, but I always felt like his backhand was a little and the serve wasn't as good as it could be, and he was. I feel like he was always grinding through matches. It wasn't that easy to roll players, and I think maybe the way he plays is it takes so much energy, and he has to be so on it in order to be efficient. And if he loses a little bit of that, I think maybe I'm mistaken, but he's also been speaking about a little bit of motivation issues. Maybe I remember that wrong. So I think the way he plays it just requires him to be absolutely on top every time because he does have a few holes in the game. I feel that players can expose. Obviously, with my own eyes, but also from a draw point of view, I think I can be objective in saying that Holger's match is tough
It is.
because Botic has a history of playing well in U.S. Open, and he's coming from a final now in Winston Salem.
Beat Alcaraz here last year.
Exactly. He made quarters from qualies a few years ago. That's not a particularly great role because Botic is one of those guys, when he's on, he's very tough to play. If he's off, he's not really there. And Holger has a history of playing some close matches with him, at least one big one in the final of Munich. So I think that's gonna be an interesting one. And obviously, from my point of view, I really hope that he can get through that because I think after that it's I think it's a tough first round, but I think the second round is after that it's okay. Stroll for McDonald is okay, but obviously Tiafo, he just lost to him. Not that I lost to him. He beat him
Cincy.
in Cincy, although he retired. So it could be worse for him, even though the bottom half of the draw is pretty brutal.
And let's be honest, Holger Rune, Francis Tiafoe night match would be would be a hell of a match. That would be a ticket you want.
Absolutely, because Holger thrives off those kind of energies, and so does Francis. We spoke about that before on the podcast that he's one of the American players who really embraces that side of the crowd and gets them going behind him. So yeah, that will be a fun match to watch. Definitely.
I also like the idea of the night match third round potential of Mensik and Fonseca.
Nah, that does nothing for me.
No, come on,
No.
it's the next gen. No,
Yeah, but no, not at this current moment in time. I'm not. I don't know. I'm not really on the Menzik bandwagon. I think he's a good player and all that, but yeah, he's not one I look out for. No, I think you can have my ticket then.
Jakub Mensik, age 19, ATP ranking 16.
Oh, I'm all for that, but the visual of the tennis and I don't know, it doesn't do anything for me. Great player. I'm not arguing his merits. Won Miami, but
Is Mensik Fonseca now what Sinner Alcaraz would have been 4 years ago?
possibly. I'm not saying that anything that you're saying is wrong. I'm just saying me personally, no. I don't even think they'll get there.
So who's going to beat Mensik? Jarry first round maybe,
Yes. Yes.
and then Fonseca plays Kekmanovic first round, which is
And
also
Mahach.
Mahac would be second round or Nardi. Yeah.
I don't think they'll play each other in the third round.
Yeah, very possibly, very possibly. Well, I tell you what, you didn't half put that fire out quickly. That's that's fine. We'll go with that. That's all. And what about the Americans? Big. I'll share a little moment that I had in Cincinnati. Actually, just I think it's quite nice to give these insights, and I'm sure Brian Shelton, who's a legend, by the way, I've got to know Brian quite well over the last few months, and
You
what
must also have did you play against him in college? Was he already coaching when you were in college?
possibly I don't know. Maybe I don't know, but I can honestly say he is exactly what you see on the television. Like, just what a delightful man. And I was in Cincinnati, and I've done a couple of podcasts with him, so I got to know him during was it French Open, I believe, or anyway, that's by the by. But as I walked past, he was kind of on his phone, and I thought I don't want to hassle him, and he actually shouted my name out, so I went over to him and had a lovely conversation. Ben had obviously just won in Toronto, but he's so interested, asking how the guys are getting on, and Michael Venus was due to play Ben in the first round in doubles in Cincinnati. He was like, unfortunately for you, he's actually pulling out of doubles because I'm sure you guys would probably want to play him in doubles because he's not as good as probably the alternates that are coming in, and he just had a nice conversation. And then Sinner's coach came over, the Italian coach. I'm rubbish with names.
Bagnozzi?
And yeah, and there was just this lovely exchange between them where there was a little hug and kind of said, amazing, well done to Ben, and you guys, what a fantastic. And Brian said, well, I've not seen you since Wimbledon, well done, Wimbledon, you guys are winning the big ones, that we're not quite there. And he turned around to Brian and said, well, look, that's where Yannick was 2 years ago.
Mm.
Yannick was, that's what was happening. And, look what's happened since. And he said, Ben will be next. Don't worry. And there was this lovely, just real kind of genuine, authentic exchange. And I have to say, it does feel more and more and more to me that Ben Shelton's maybe our number 3 guy coming through behind them, and certainly in terms of kind of that firepower on the day, he seems to be also taking care of the players now that, quote unquote, he should take care of. Is he the next one for us to watch during this US Open outside of Alcaraz and Sinner?
Yes, I agree with you. I was always not convinced that he was going to maintain that kind of level that he was showing from time to time. I thought there was going to be too many ups and downs, but no, that has to go in the trash now. Rubbish take, because he's the real deal. He's a consistent performer. He has to believe. I think he's pretty clutch too. Like, he's a big moment guy.
Hmm.
Huge lefty serve. He's only going to get better. He's fun to watch. He looks like he enjoys it. The crowd likes him.
He talks the talk, but he also walks the walk.
Yeah,
He's not a guy. I know that Brian pulls his hair out with some of the comments he makes in the press. Like, he's like, all I need is one more minute to finish this match off. You know,
yeah.
and then in Wimbledon, and then he comes out and he serves it out in 56 seconds.
There you
Some
go.
some people say that, but they don't mean it, and it actually
Yeah.
adds pressure. But it feels like he kind of backs it up, really.
Yeah, and it's not. I don't find it to be. He's not rude or cocky in a negative way. It's not a lack of respect. I think it's yeah. I've come around to him a lot from a tennis point of view, and I do think that he's gonna be a threat for the most part. And I do quite like his draw.
It's a good draw.
I think he has a pretty decent draw. And he's another one of those players. We've seen that before. He thrives in this environment. He's only going to be better playing on Ash with a lot of energy from the crowd. So yeah, he's definitely one to watch. I mean, and with that cannon of a serve, he's always going to be in with a chance against the top guys. And I do think that they don't want to play him as well. So I agree with you. He's definitely in that category of for me. There's Carlos Sinner, then there's Joko just behind, and then for me it's like Zverev, Ben, possibly Fritz.
I think
Uh,
Fritz
in
here as well, yeah. Draper.
in the group, right? I still feel Draper needs to be a little more consistent regularly to get to that group of guys, but he definitely has the potential to be there.
And we could have a Shelton Alcaraz. I don't like to get ahead of ourselves, but Shelton
You
Alcaraz
do like to get ahead of
Alcaraz
yourself. Let's be honest. You just
quarterfinal. What a match that would be, and
yeah.
I think I think he's had set points against Alcaraz and maybe Sinner in the last couple of Grand Slams in that kind of quarterfinal. He's kind of coming up against one of those guys in the quarterfinals each time now. And at some point, he's going to get through them, you would think. Or at some point, they're not going to make it, for
Yeah,
whatever reason. But those are the matchups that we want, right? These are the matchups that we want to start
definitely.
seeing on a regular
And
basis.
I mean, I haven't been back to last time I played US Open was in 21, and I feel like the courts play a little bit different. And maybe I'm just making up, but I feel like if you go through the court, it's pretty fast. But if you use spin, it also bounces,
Yeah.
and that to me really plays into Ben's strengths. Like if he's popping a serve, it'll go through the court. If he uses a kicker, it will bounce. So I think the conditions really play. I would think that they are to his advantage and that he can play his best tennis here.
And what about, before we give our pick to win this year in New York? What about our dark horse? And we've been asking questions, or we've been putting it out there for people to ask their questions, on social media. And Betty has been in touch, and she says that she wants us to pick a dark horse, but she's very specific on what this dark horse is. It hasn't been a former winner, hasn't been number one, hasn't been in the top 20, and
You're already out in this. What are you going to do, Dan? This is going to be
and
hopeless for
and,
you.
and for the women hasn't been in the top 10. I think that's Betty telling us that we're kind of sick of us picking these former world number ones or top 10 players in the world. So give us a true dark horse on the men's side. I have mine. So I'm hoping you're not gonna jump in and take it.
What do you
before I
mean? You have one. You always have like 7 written down.
I've told you Popperin was one before the event, but ultimately, I think he plays Yannick Sinner and loses second round. So I don't think that's going to be my one pick.
No, I mean before the draw, I would think Swiatek could be good here. I know he played August in the quali, so that's why I had a look at him, and he's had a very good summer. But he's playing Novak second round, so I think that is not gonna get him that far. I don't think that the dark horses stand out too much these days, but I do think that maybe I think it's difficult. I think some of the ones to watch are the ones from qualies. I do like Fede Gomes from Argentina. I think he could cause some problems to Drape on the first round. I don't think he'll win, but I think he could be one to watch. Also, just because I like his story and I think he's a good dude. That's worth.
Is this the coach? This is the one that.
Exactly. But I mean, if I think it qualifies, but you gotta think that Pecci Pericard has a chance to be a dark horse here. I mean,
And he plays Musetti first round.
but in these conditions, I think I like that matchup for him against Musetti. It's not easy to play here. That serve is gonna be absolutely flying here. So that would be my standout. Who's yours?
Medjedovic.
We saw him in Davis Cup. Unbelievable top level. Ridiculous ball striker. But to me, a little bit too inconsistent to really.
Yeah, but but that's the whole point of a dark horse, right? If he was an unbelievable ball striker and consistent, then he probably would be top 20.
Yeah,
So I
but
guess
I'm just saying. Yeah, I think he also has a decent spot in the draw.
he does.
Altmaier to go to Tsitsi, but I have a very hard time seeing him compete against De Minaur. Actually, you were
Yeah,
pretty close with with your manure pronunciation. I gave you shit for that, so I have to take it back a little bit.
but also one thing I would say about Di Manure actually is he's been so consistent for so long. Yet I sense a little bit of tiredness in him. You know, he's come out. I like to listen to these press conferences. He's said for quite a while now, or the last couple of months, he's made a lot of comments, understandably, right, about the tour, about the demands, about the number of weeks, about what's expected of them. And I do just wonder if he's a little bit ratty right now, you know, and you know, maybe he plays his fellow countryman O'Connell in the first round. Sometimes that brings up something a little bit different, but I'm not sure Di Manua's quite in that headspace to just because he's not a robot, right? He almost has been a robot for a couple of years, where he's just always
Mm.
got to last 16, always got to quarters, always beaten who he should beat, then tended to lose to who he shouldn't beat. You know, one of the big guys. But just maybe Medjedovic could come out of that little section. Let's see.
Let's see. Let's see.
Let's get straight to the point on the winners. It's Carlos or Yannick, right? I don't think anything has shown us over the last couple of years. The last 7 Grand Slams have gone that way. I don't think we can expect it to go anywhere different here in New York. So I'm going to assume that you're going to pick one of those.
I mean, yes, but then I started thinking maybe if Sinner is really badly or was badly ill, he's been around side, so I think he's been training, so it can't be that bad. But that made me second guess it a little bit because it's tough here with the conditions. It's not Cincinnati tough warm, but it gets warm and muggy here. But I think it is difficult to kind of see past them. I was always pro Carlos. I always think that he's gonna win when he plays. And I was a little bit surprised that he lost at Wimbledon, and that made me second guess the Carlos a little bit. So I'm a little bit on the fence as to who I'm gonna pick when it comes to Carlos or Sinner, but I think I'm gonna go with Sinner. I just feel like these conditions, it's a heavy ball, it's pretty, it goes through the court. He has that ability to make it less. I don't have a better way of putting it, but less skill match and then can make it into a power match against anybody, and especially against Carlos, which I think is vital for him. Because if Carlos starts being able to use his versatility, that's when he has problems. But if they can make it a match about power, then I think Senna has the upper hand there. So I'm picking Sinner.
I'm not influenced by you. I have my own pick, but my pick is the same as you, Yannick Sinner.
There you go. Apparently, average minds think alike too.
So we can move on to the women's draw. Yeah, what do you see jumping out at you on the women's draw this year?
Again, I'm very biased, and I've always mentioned her on this podcast. But I purposely piped down a little bit because I felt like I couldn't mention her every time. But now I think she has a legitimate shot. But Clara is doing great, and she's proven that she can beat Sabalenka. I think she has a good game for her, and I really think that there's a chance they might play each other fourth round, and that's what I'm looking for, and I'm really hoping it's going to happen because it's a breakthrough year for Clara, and it's time for her to cement her place in the top of women's tennis, and I do think that she can hurt Sabalenka were they to play in the fourth round. She has a tough first round draw, Clara, against Ayala, so I'm
Yeah.
not taking anything for granted at all, but that's kind of with my wishful thinking what pops out to me.
The one that I want to mention, actually, I was a bit of a story again to share. I'm sure Sue Wei, she doesn't listen to this podcast, so but a bit of a side story. So Gabby and Erin played Sue Wei and Shibahara in the first round in Cincinnati, which is bloody tough first round draw. Having all of those players on the court, and there were 5-love down in the first set. But they'd had 10 game points up until that point. So imagine that 5-love down, but you've had 10 game points in those 5 games. Came back and won 5-5. Now Shibahara made final of Aussie Open doubles 23, I believe. Very good doubles player. But went back to singles. Sue and Shibahara were due to play US Open together. And after that match, Sue dropped her for US Open less than 24 hours before the entry was finalized. And Enna Shibahara is a lovely, lovely girl, and she's a hell of a tennis player. And she didn't play that bad, I promise you, in that match. You know, like she maybe wasn't quite 100% herself, but she, played a decent match. Anyway, I had a big smile on my face when I saw that Shibahara had qualified in the singles. These are kind of the stories that aren't at the forefront of what we read, in the newspaper or on the main headlines on Twitter. But that's kind of quite a big knock, right? To be given that information, but then for her to then have responded the way she has, and she's rewarded herself with a first round against Raducanu, who I think will take care of Enna, no problem, But I think Raducanu is also worth our mention now, not just for kind of superstardom rights that she was at the forefront, but a big shout out to her and her team, because she's put herself up for me right in the mix. Somebody told me, I know it's a practice set, but she beat Sabalenka 6-1 in a practice set yesterday. Even the fact that Sabalenka's even asking her now, right? She's kind of, it feels like she's got the respect of the best players in the world, probably similar to Clara, really, of someone who, has the ability. She would come up really potentially. Raducanu's got a very difficult draw, though. Potentially, Kudermetova, who's playing very well right now, to then potentially play a Rybakina in the third round. That's a pretty strong. Then, I mean, in Rybakina as well, who seems like she's a bit back to her old self, which is a bit worrying, because she's got the coach back in the corner. She would potentially have Raducanu or Kudermetova third round, to then potentially Paolini fourth round, to potentially quarterfinal Sabalenka. That's a really kind of strong, tough section, which is great that we're potentially getting all of these matches as well. So those were a little couple of standouts for me when I went through it. I think Krejcikova against Mboko is a fascinating first round. Obviously Mboko winning in Montreal, and seems every bit the superstar that she could be. Krejcikova's getting back into some form. The winner of that, I expect to go on a bit of a run, through the draw as well. Mira Andreeva won't necessarily like
How
to see.
far you think you think they're going to roll Navarro?
I don't think Navarro gets there.
Wow.
I think Navarro's off. I would have if you said to me right now, Mbokko's playing Navarro third round, who's your favourite? Of course, Navarro's now got 2 more matches under a belt, but as they currently stand, I'd be saying Mbokko's the favourite in that match.
Okay, fair.
You know, if I have a little look at it, actually, Navarro, lost to Alicia Parks in Monterrey first round, lost to Ella Sedel in Cincinnati first round, in Montreal beat Rebecca Marino, then lost to Yastremska second round. Washington lost first round to Sakari. Wimbledon, last 16 to Mirandriva. But yeah, she on the hard courts this season, US hard courts, she's 1-4.
Yeah, she's due.
Yeah, it depends how you look at it, I guess, huh?
I think that she's got, in order to get going, she's got not the worst of draws.
No, I would agree with that. What about Venus Williams against Makova?
Yeah, that's. I mean, the fact that she's competitive, and I mean, she doesn't look like a nostalgia wildcard. I think if she looks like she's can actually play, which is
She does.
insane.
Well, when I saw her get a wild card in the Washington, I was like, come on, seriously. I mean, I've got so much respect for what she's achieved, but come
Yeah,
on, time's time. And then she's shown that she's ready to play and compete and win.
yeah.
So absolute hats off to her. And she's completely earned that. I
That
don't
could
think
be an
she
interesting match here on Ash. She'll get going.
could
She'll be
be.
fine. I think Muhua will be too much for her, but I think it'll be a good match.
Absolutely. So yeah, and then we've got Coco Gauff that's brought in the biomechanic Gareth, I believe, who was working with Sabalenka for a long time. What amazed me about that, I was in the gym in Monterrey in the hotel, and on the screen, I basically was watching a private lesson of Coco Gauff being taught how to serve.
Really?
And what absolutely amazes me is that she's doing this work on these show courts that have got cameras.
Yeah.
It was like, whoa, like
Hmm.
it felt very intrusive. So she gets that sorted. I've said this for a long time. She gets a serve sorted. She's the best player in the world.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I don't
Where,
disagree. It's an interesting one, but it feels like she still has the base of her team. I feel like isn't it Forel who's always with her consistently?
yeah, but the guy who she was been traveling with for the last 12, 18 months, she has moved away from in the
I know,
last
I know,
couple
I
of
know,
years.
but it's not. I'm just saying that it's not like wholesale changes to the
No, it's
team.
not. No, it's not. She's basically just brought this guy in, I think, very specifically to look at the serve.
Yeah,
But it seems a little bit kind of whoa, all of it. She's obviously Cincinnati, the serve fell apart a little bit. So I think this has been like again, like I need to get this sorted.
yeah, but it's kind of speaks to her what's the word, urgency as well. I think there's a few ways to look at it, and like I'm not content with this. I'm not scared of. I need. We always talk about the framing of courage with August. That you really have the courage to go into U.S. Open and play for the title with your serve not working. To have the courage to do that. Whereas people always talk, it's courageous to change your serve now before, if you look at it that way, or it's a strange way to do it. But I always think, well, did she really have the belief or the courage to go into US Open and think she can compete when one of the most vital shots in the game is not working?
I
So
like
hats
that.
off, and it's like, no, I'm here to compete. This needs to work. So
I
I'm gonna
like it.
do something about it. And obviously, it's not because it fell. I mean, it fell apart in Cincy, but it's not because she had a bad week in Cincy. It's obviously been piling
It's
on,
been
right?
going for a long time. So where you at, dark horse?
What were the requirements again?
Sabalenka doesn't count.
Sabalenka doesn't count. Well, that's mine off. I mean, I think it's so difficult to predict because I want to say, okay, I'm gonna pick a dark horse here. I think her name is pronounced Bausas,
The Spanish girl.
uh, because I don't, yeah, just because she had a good run in Wimbledon. She's getting better. She's playing Coco Gauff in the second round. I think that could be a good match. I don't think she's gonna
Mhm.
But I would have picked her before the draw. Not a very favorable draw to play Coco in the second round, but I think she could play a good match against her. So,
That's good. I like it.
and then just out of sheer annoyance that I didn't pick her earlier, Haley Baptiste. I think she's a bowler. I think she could trouble Osaka. I know she had a good tournament in Osaka, but I'm not really convinced that she's back to being consistent week in and week out, and I think that could be a so that's a real
When does she play
huh?
her?
Second round.
Okay.
I mean, she
Yeah.
has Siniakwa, who's a tough player in the first round, but she's a baller. I think that she has a good run in her. U.S. Open could benefit her. I think she'll be fun to watch. I mean, so I'm gonna go out on a limb, try to pick some tough dark horses here. What are you gonna do, Dan? Let me
Well,
hear. What
I've
what?
got
How
four.
many players did you have to strike out from
I had
from?
I had four written down, but I'm actually going to mention five. But the one that I wrote down was Ito. Before the draw was that she lost the last round qualies, but I do want to talk about her because she is fascinating. I don't know if you've seen her. She looks like she's 9 years old. She's 21. She looks like she just can't be bothered. Like she's like any kids out there that don't move your feet, go and watch Ito. You'll show your coaches that you can be like her. She slices pretty much every ball. She's unbelievably skillful. She did have on the hard courts wins over Ruse in Cincy, Pavlyuchenkova. In Montreal, she beat Paulini. Volley nets, lost to Busas Monero in three sets.
I like
She's
that.
she's got some serious game in a different way, but she lost quite fascinatingly. She lost to another one that I've had my eye on for a while, which is Yanis Tien from Indonesia, and who is 58-10 on the year, has made 9 ITF finals, won 6 ITFs, is a real player, went through qualies in straight sets. And I was like, well, this is one to really watch. We know that winning's a habit, but she's been drawn against Kudermetova first round, which is no, she has a chance, but then it's that section potentially Raducanu, then potentially she couldn't have almost positioned herself any more challenging, but she's one to watch. I also then I wrote this one down before Cleveland because she's in the final today, which annoys me a little bit. But Sorana Castilla
Mm.
on the other end of the scale, who's been shown some real form, and she's kind of backed that up. I still haven't gotten to my pick. I did have Clara Towson down. I know that's a difficult one to say as a dark horse, but Betty did say outside the top 10. She is outside the top 10. But my actual pick is McCartney Kessler.
Yeah, I was gonna pick her too, but then she got seeded, and I picked her in Wimbledon too. But yeah, she's really good.
She's really good. She's 34 in the world. I know she's seeded, I think, 32 here. She also, obviously, as a doubles guy, I watched her carry Coco Gauff in Montreal. She was
Yeah,
fantastic.
she's very good in doubles.
She won some big matches. I think she's a serious player. I think the draw is somewhat kind. I hadn't fully looked at it actually. Well, no, it's not. It's a tough first round. She plays Magdalene first round, which is bloody tough. She gets through that. Von Drusova, okay, so it's not a good draw at all. But she is someone that can play. So that is my dark horse pick, McCartney Kessler, and then the other ones if they do well as well.
And all the other ones, so that you have something to claim.
And what about your winner?
Yeah, I don't want to pick a Sabalenka because I hope Clara's gonna beat her, but I'm gonna pick Iga.
She's favourite, I think.
Yeah, I think she seems like she's found something.
I agree.
So I'm gonna pick Iga also because I feel like when she's on, also her game feels like it needs to be on a little bit. She needs to be on and firing on all cylinders because she doesn't just take points away from the opponent. Yeah, that'll be my pick.
Yeah, they seem to have found the right chemistry. It's like it's interesting. Daria, her sports psychologist, has definitely taken a back seat. She's obviously still involved, but it always felt like she was leading everything.
Mm.
Whereas now Iga's doing her stuff in the gym and Daria's working out separately. And it's, oh, that never happened. It feels like they've found like a dynamic that's starting to work, whereas it felt before there was a bit of an obsessive dynamic and it was all a bit too, intense. And, just I've been impressed with what I've seen. You get a bit of a feel, right, around the tournaments when you see the teams. Wim looks like he's a lot more comfortable within that relationship. At first, it felt like he maybe wasn't. It felt like he was a bit the outsider coming into that team, whereas it feels like he's now got his role a little bit stronger and tighter set. So I think Iga probably is the favourite. I'm struggling with this, if I'm honest. I've got like the back of my head's going Coco Gauff, Coco, even though she maybe doesn't quite have the form. But I'm going to go Sabalenka.
You remind me of a Danish commentator once in a Tour de France stage. There was a sprint, and he goes, "Sabel, Sabel, Sabel, Sabel." Abdul-Jabbar wins.
The other one actually is Rebecca, I think's found form, and she kind of has it over Sabalenka a little bit. So if they play each other in the quarterfinal, then I think that's a 50-50 match. But yeah, I'm gonna go Sabalenka. Now, no, Freddie, you've got to go in a couple of minutes. I just want to ask a couple of questions that have come in. I think it's important. Thank you for everyone who's engaged. I know we've had quite a few questions. I can't ask them all. Who's going to go furthest of the Brits and the Danes? As one of the questions that's come in for us.
I mean, who's going to go furthest, a Brit or a Dane, or?
Well, no, the furthest Brit and the furthest Dane. Let's not make this a competition amongst countries.
Okay. Well, I think Holger's going to go the furthest of the Danes.
Over Clara?
Oh, in 2 different draws.
No, across the board. Yeah.
Oof. I'm gonna play the Switzerland card here. I'm not gonna go out there and I'm playing the Switzerland card. That's too tough. First time in the CTC history, I'm playing that card and I'm not taking a stance.
Wow.
I think they're both making finals. How about that?
How boring are you? And what?
Yeah, I should just pick 18 players in my dark horse and be lively.
Let's get Kieran Forster back on. At least he gives us a stance.
Yeah.
What about the Brits? Who's going to go furthest with the Brits?
Jack Draper.
Yeah, I think so. Jack. I always want to give a shout out to Cam Norrie as well. I think I love Cam and I love what Cam's doing. He plays. That's an interesting first round. He plays Seb Corda first round, which that could have been a quarterfinal match a couple of years ago. But Cam Norrie, I'd love to see have a run, and he's had a great last few months as well. So, but I think Jack, just when you're seeded, your options open, right? Don't they? And I think Jack's options are open. It's hard, I think, to see a British woman going past the third round. Just looking at the draw, Raducanu is obviously the one that's got the bit between her teeth right now. Danes, I'm going to go Holger. I think Holger's going to have a run. I do. Yeah, we know that he's got it right. We say it every time, but I'm gonna go on a limb. At some point he's gonna, just like we used to say, Nissimova. And Anisimova then had her run. I have that same belief in Holger. It's a matter of time. It's not if, it's when for Holger. So that's how I would answer that one. We've also got a question here. How do you spend your days in New York beside training until next week's match schedule? So I'll throw that to you first. How would you normally spend your days in New York? Do you get to sightsee? Do you get any chance away from the tennis, or is it just tennis only?
Well, for me personally now, the Red Sox are in town, so I'm watching the Yankees Red Sox at night. Normally, there's a lot of it takes a. It's one of the more difficult ones with downtime
at the Yankee Stadium.
Yeah.
You've been going, have you?
Yeah. No, there's a lot of transportation time from most people stay in the city. It can take a long time with traffic going back and forth, and by the time you get back, it's already late. So usually you're just on site a lot. You try to get your practices in. It's not that easy. It's not that easy to do stuff because you also want to try and get some treatment, make sure that you're ready for the tournament. And then when you go back, I think they try to find some good places to eat, try to explore the city a little bit, maybe go to the park. New York is the one tournament I feel like where it's difficult with downtime, because also if you're a qualifier, don't have transport, so you have to time it with the, it's not too much, but the half-hour schedules on the shuttle. And if you leave at the wrong times, it could take an hour to get back to the city. Basically, it's maybe trying to take advantage of the city, but most of the time it's just managing your time and training and going back and having dinner and then copy paste the next day, because you start early, you come back late, and there's not that much downtime in New York, I feel.
See, I'm a bit different to you, I think, on that. I think I'm obviously not a player, but I think New York and Rome are the two cities that, almost regardless of the time I get back, I find myself exploring. And it's like, and so and actually I have my family arrived today, which is nice. I've been away for the last 2.5 weeks, so it's nice. They're going to be here for a few days. So I think we're going to a show on Broadway maybe tomorrow night. I definitely want to take them to the Yankees, but whilst they're here, and I just love walking the city, actually. Just like picking up a bit of food, just taking in some of the sights, so we'll definitely be getting involved in quite a bit of that. Doubles obviously doesn't start till Thursday, possibly even Friday. So there's a little bit of time that the doubles players have right now. So today, I think for the first time ever, I don't have a player that's playing today, actually. So I celebrated the day off by getting up to speak to Freddie Nielsen at 8:30 in the morning. But that's
what a joy to me.
absolutely. So yeah, so just I think it is one of those cities. It's one of those special cities for me that I just like being in, and just feeling the buzz, feeling the vibe, and having the family here is going to be special I'm sure the
Oh, for
kids have
sure.
got
And that's going to
their,
force you to do something, because if you're just on
it
your
is.
own, you don't really have that. But when you have your family, and yeah.
It's not going to be good for the weight management, I don't think, because the kids have got all of their TikTok restaurants,
There
whether
you
it's
go.
crumble cookie or Raisin Canes, or all of the things that they've got. So yeah, so it's going to be good. It's going to be good fun. But last question. We'll get to some of the others. We will be doing more live shows throughout the event. But last question, Freddie, your favorite ever US Open memory?
I mean, I was always shit here myself, so I don't really have any good experiences from playing. But just being
Right.
here
You
is
should
big for
play
me
this.
personally. I have a lot of good memories just hanging. My birthday was always during US Open.
When's your birthday? Was
Uh,
always, or still, is it still? Is it not, not
well,
anymore?
I'm not going to be here next week.
So it's next week.
So it's August 27th. So I always celebrate my birthday here, and I took some of my tennis friends out for dinner every night. So that was
We went for dinner one night on your birthday a couple of years ago.
yeah, we did. We went to a place to get a burger. They only serve for lunch, so that was happy days.
No, I thought we went and got pasta.
Yeah, but the reason why we were at that place was to get the burger, and they only served it for lunch. So
Oh,
happy days.
really? The pasta was good.
The pasta was good, but yeah, just being in New York. So I think that tennis-wise, I would say maybe the Sampras final when he beat Agassi, or the Agassi Blake match in, when was that? 2005.
Yeah.
You remember that? With
Yeah.
I mean, that's the most insane tennis I've ever seen. I think at that time,
Yeah.
probably still is.
The night
Um,
matches. The night
yeah,
matches are special.
yeah, exactly. So those would be mine. That stand out.
Yeah, I came in 2012 for the juniors, and I remember getting tickets for a night match. It was actually an Andy Murray night match, and that first feeling of walking in Ash Stadium in a night match. I'm not saying it quite compares to the first time I walked into St James's Park. I have zero memories of being a player here, because I wasn't good enough and I didn't play here. So all of my memories are very much as a coach and as a fan. But
I never really watched much tennis live here myself, though. I always enjoyed being in the city more
yeah.
than being on site.
I think night matches, I always try and stay for a night match or two. But I'll give a very, very quick one for me. The very obvious one for me is there was a weekend in 2023 where not been a coach that's been part of a Grand Slam final before, and all of a sudden in one weekend there was two, as Harry Heliavara and Anna Danilina won the mixed doubles on the Saturday, and then on the Sunday, Gabby Dabrowski and Erin Routliffe then won the women's doubles, which was a very surreal, incredible, amazing weekend. We had something going on back, and I was supposed to be running a half marathon back in the UK, which was very emotional because all the family were running that. For my mum's got dementia towards that, so it was a very, very crazy emotional weekend. But what did also happen that weekend is through a player, Tom Linley, at the sort of tennis academy, we got invited to the ESPN suites for the Coco Gauff final against Sabalenka, and that is the one right behind center stage on Arthur Ashe Stadium, and that was an incredible experience. You sat there and you're looking around at all of these celebrities that you're in the suites with, but you also see that all of the photographers and cameramen are positioned kind of paparazzi, but it's all set up. So all of those pictures you then see on your social media the next day, it's all set up. And you've got Justin Timberlake there, you've got Kevin Durant here, you got all these incredible people. I must admit that was a very, very surreal weekend to kind of have all of those.
Dan Kiernan was there.
Well, I don't know if anyone cared about that, but certainly for myself, that was like a bit of a weird kind of pinch me moment of what is going on here. But Freddie, you have a great day, mate. I hope to see you. I might not though.
Yeah, same to you, Dan.
But
good luck to your place.
Thank you, and yourself, and we will be back in touch, guys, with lots more coming your way over the next few days. But yeah, take care of yourselves. Have a great day. Until next time, I'm Dan Kiernan, and we are Control the Controllables. And just to chime back in at the end of that podcast, a big thank you as ever to Freddie. I never take it for granted that he's so good with his time. And I always learn so much from just listening to Freddie talk tennis. I hope everyone enjoys the US Open wherever you are in the world. Please do get in touch. Send your questions. I'm sorry if we didn't get round to your questions today, but just keep those questions coming in. We're on the ground. We're going to try and give you as much insight as we possibly can. Please do look out for that. If you are not subscribed to our YouTube channel, then please do, because then it will pop up whenever our live shows are on, and we're going to be trying to bring as much of that as possible to you. I'm certainly very excited. I'm here with the doubles players, and Michael Venus, who's playing with Yuki Bambry, Gabby Dabrowski and Erin Routliffe, fresh off their win in Cincinnati, which was incredible. And also Cleve Harper, who have been helping out for the last few weeks. Cleve's moved up to 87 in the world on the men's doubles side. We're hoping he might get a chance to play in the main draw as well. So that will be bringing more insight on the doubles once the draw for that is out as well. And then anything else that you want, you let us know, you reach out. We are here for you, and we appreciate you as always. So please do feel free to get in touch. We will be live in the next couple of days, and look out for all of those podcasts, as well as many other guests coming over the next few weeks. But until next time, I'm Dan Kiernan, and we are Control the Controllables.